WWT presents Experts.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of WWT Experts. I'm your host, Matthew Coble, and today we're going to be talking about staying ahead in retail, which means continuously embracing the customer experience, boosting employee productivity, and building a competitive edge. Often this requires migrating some or all of your applications to the cloud. However, this is sometimes easier said than done. Cloud migration comes with its challenges. You got to decide what to migrate. You got to prepare your data for the cloud, kind of move those applications and workloads accordingly. And that is why we're here today with two experts from Worldwide Technology in this episode of our four-part series about the retail industry and how retailers are thinking about AI and data, security, unified commerce, and today's topic, cloud. So with me are two experts. First up, I've got Jay Custard, Chief Digital Advisor with Worldwide Technology. Jay is an experienced digital strategy and e-commerce executive, and he's worked across multiple disciplines with companies of all sizes to transform retail on a global scale. He loves blending together, user experience, analytics, marketing strategy, merchandising, and technology to optimize retail for our clients and their customers. And given his deep background and history in the industry, we're really delighted to have him here at WWT. Also with us is Leo Hart, who manages and leads cloud business development for Worldwide Technology. He takes a deep interest in learning about the business strategies our clients have in mind, and then helping them find the right cloud solutions to strike the right risk-reward balance in their decisions and driving towards their success. He appreciates that different cloud providers have different strengths, and sometimes a little bit of on-prem technology is probably the right fit too. So, Jay, Leo, thanks for coming. Appreciate you joining us.
Matt, always good to see you. Thanks for having us, buddy.
Yeah, really excited to be here with you today, Matt.
Excellent. Well, let's jump right in. So, Jay, I'm going to pass this first question to you. So can you just give us an overview of how cloud technology is transforming the retail industry today, particularly in terms of how we're improving both customer and employee experiences?
Yeah, I think it really comes down to kind of some basics, right? We haven't met a retailer yet in the whole of our experience that doesn't want to do one of two things, right? Which is increase the top line revenues or find ways to take out operational costs. A lot of those things kind of manifest in, personalized customer experience, really integrating all these online to offline channels, figuring out ways to empower employees, figuring out ways to deploy and figure out ways to bring data more to the forefront of what's going on in the industry. We could be remiss if we didn't talk about this forcing function that is Gen AI. Been a lot of AI in retail for a long time, but mostly kind of siloed, right? Sitting in either on the front end side of delivering better emails or optimizing paid search and figuring out what media is actually working. And sometimes on the back end, like looking for some predictive analytics on what kind of inventory is going to turn and where we need to start placing more bets with some of the movement of our logistics. But really what we're finding is this newfound kind of push to integrate these disparate data sources that maybe haven't always been connected, and really forcing organizations, especially retailers, to kind of think through how do we get through some of our organizational challenges around maybe some misaligned incentives internally. How do we start thinking about bringing all of this together with broader context so that we can actually serve our customers and, more importantly, our employees that much better to really drive those outcomes that we all want and demand? Because, as we all know, retail is ever shifting sands. There's a lot of cross-contamination around what is a retailer versus a healthcare company versus a media company these days, right? And cloud really forms that consolidated place by which this allows retailers to experiment, collecting this information, building these experiences, testing these in a scalable, reliable way. So lots of innovation happening on that front, again, through the lens of Gen AI, but it's a nice function for all of us to come together in the retail space to really kind of figure out what can be in a way that actually makes sense, it's scalable and can be matured.
Mm-hmm. Well, Leo, so what are some of the biggest challenges that retailers are facing when migrating their core applications to the cloud, and how can they overcome those obstacles to ensure minimal disruption, both for their customers and probably their employees too?
Yeah, not unlike all other organizations, they face a ton of challenges, but I would say that the primary obstacle is something that Jay mentioned briefly, in his initial comment, and it's dealing with those siloed data sources and disparate systems, and those happen within their ERP systems, their merchandising tools, as well as even something as simple as Excel spreadsheets. So they're really looking to consolidate and reorganize this data in the cloud, and it's critical to do this if they're going to effectively leverage AI and machine learning services. You know, the quality of the results that you get out of tools like that really depend on the quality that you put in. And so they're really attacking this at a huge level in order to get their arms around it. Another critical factor is around business continuity and then security. I think a lot of companies who are moving workloads from on-prem into the cloud, they don't realize that it's a little bit different paradigm when they go to the public clouds, and they may be thinking in the same terms as they did when they were on-prem. So they need to kind of look at it from a different lens and then apply those new standards to the workloads they're deploying inside the cloud. Because at the end of the day, customer trust is paramount. So, you know, the keeping that eye on security as well as compliance to protect that customer data is really a must these days.
So I'm curious, you know, where y'all think that retailers should start their cloud migration journeys? You know, how do they prioritize, you know, which applications, which workloads should really go first, and then how do they build on that to evolve things over time?
I think one of the key pieces of that is really kind of understanding where do you anticipate going, right? What are those experiences that you're trying to build for the customer, for your employees? Where are the places that you have gains that you've already made, right? So, you know, in my past, being on kind of the business side, owning the line of business, there's been a lot of SaaS tools in the market for a very, very long time, right? It's very fluid for a marketing team or a digital team or an e-commerce team and even some planning teams to really already have things in the cloud, right? But it's through point solutions and vendors. So I would start by looking at what has been working. Where do we have those? Where have we made gains? Maybe not big step changes, but where have we made incrementality and made things work? But then looking to contextualize that against how do we start to look at some of those more legacy systems that Leo mentioned, things that traditionally live on-prem, my POS system, my ERP system, maybe even my CRM. How do I start looking for those workloads in those places where I can continue to contextualize, dimensionalize, and really deepen that connection, both for the employee as well as the customer. So a lot of it comes down to what do we want to be when we grow up? And it's a really hard conversation to get a lot of disparate teams in a room to really hash out and kind of come to a North Star goal around what we're trying to accomplish. And then you can start to back into where does it make sense and what kind of tooling do we need? And what is this going to look like from a financial perspective and a scale perspective? And more importantly, the most important thing that Leo mentioned is really, what does this look like from a security perspective? Because the last thing we want to do is violate that trust with our customers or expose information out there that we don't want to as we're rushing through to prototype more of these Gen AI chatbot type tools in this kind of POC world that we're all living in. So I think there's a lot of business alignment that has to really work in harmony with the technology teams. And I can tell you from my past, I didn't want to go to corporate IT, right? I wanted to do this on my own. I built shadow IT for as long as I could get away with it because that was what I was incentivized to do. And I think that's the fun part of working with teams like Leo is to really kind of think through what's that left brain, right brain side of this to really set that paradigm so that we're working as one organization, not against each other, to really kind of understand what are we trying to do and then look for those workloads that satisfy that. You're not going to get there all in one fell swoop. There's a lot of things that have to happen, but you've got to know where you're going and then really critically analyze what we want to major in and what we want to minor in and what should be in the cloud versus not.
Well, Leo, I want to build a little bit on part of Jay's answer there. And, you know, Jay, you mentioned that, you know, a lot of retailers are thinking about sort of point solutions or kind of a loose fabric of cloud solutions that they're doing versus more of a holistic one. So, Leo, do you see that that's what retailers are doing? And then how do you convince them to take a more holistic look at, you know, their cloud decision making and think more strategically about it versus just that, you know, sort of one-off at things that sometimes happen?
Well, I mean, realistically, the real value in the cloud comes from being able to leverage all of the tool sets that are really at your fingertips. You can't deploy services like that at the tip of a hat on-prem. So those are there, but you have to have your data, you have to have your workloads there within the cloud ecosystem to be able to take advantage. So, you know, prioritizing, looking at what you've got on-prem, what makes sense to put into the public cloud, and then also what do you want to do from a future standpoint? What do you want to be able to tie into? That's going to go into that prioritization discussion. So, a workload that you might not think you want to move right now might tie into something else. And if you want to use a cloud service that only works with the data when it's as close as possible to the service, then you may need to go ahead and move that up the prioritization ranks to get it migrated into the public cloud. So I think there's a broader conversation that we like to have with our customers. Make sure that not only are they looking at what needs addressing immediately, but what are they trying to connect in the future? Who are they trying to be, so that we can add that into that prioritization plan?
Mm-hmm. Jay, I'm curious if you think about that prioritization plan. I totally agree with that, Leo. Like, what are those top priorities that organizations are thinking about or should be thinking about to really deliver for their customers and their employees kind of in a balanced way?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think we're starting to see this evolution. There's been this notion of omnichannel for a long time in retail, right? And so if you think about what delivers kind of a retail experience, either for employees or for customers, there's kind of three main buckets, right? There's at the bottom, there is data. The middle part of that is decisioning, right? What are we going to do with that information? And the top part is delivery, which is what I would call kind of like, how does this show up, either through a tool for my employees, or a kiosk, or a web application, or even my e-commerce site? How do those work? I think where we've seen the majority of the investment and where a lot of prioritization were in the past is that you found a lot of the technology groups really focusing on data, getting it secured, understanding what we have, getting it cleansed, making it available. So kind of organization. And then on the other side, line of business really focused on that delivery piece. What kind of experiences are we going to build through point solutions? Where do we need to put in new and exciting digital experiences? And those things have really kind of become commoditized. The middle layer, where we're seeing a lot of organizations really reprioritize, is that decisioning layer, right? The investment's been on the ends, but really where the value is for businesses is in that middle part around decisioning. So starting to deliver around, what are we going to do? Are we a data-led organization, right? Do we want to be data-driven? How are we going to get away from merchandising gut feels and kind of doing some of the things that are in isolation? So I think we're starting to see companies thinking through, how are we going to make better decisions with our information? And sometimes that isn't Gen AI, that's ML, it's predictive analytics, kind of some of the back to basics type of thing. But that's been a really cool organizational foundation that we've started to see evolve. And there's all kinds of puts and takes by doing that. But we're starting to see line of business kind of move toward the middle. The data and infrastructure folks are kind of moving up as well. And right in that middle part is the non-commoditized stuff that really separates a lot of retailers from the pack.
This episode is brought to you by Broadcom. Broadcom's VMware software manages cloud complexity so customers can modernize infrastructure, accelerate app development, and protect workloads wherever these reside.
Well, yeah, I'm curious if you'd speak to some of the key steps that retailers should take to successfully migrate critical applications to the cloud, while maintaining that quality of service that, of course, their customers are expecting and really their employees should expect too.
Well, the first step for most is going to be to implement either a cloud data platform or a data lake to service, their overall centralized repository where all their structured and unstructured data is going to reside. And that's all coming from multiple sources. So once they have that done, the process is going to be to clean, transform, integrate all this data from disparate sources so that it can all be associated together. Then once it's in that data platform, they can build that consistent data model, schemas, governance policies. But as always, we need to continue to layer that security across it. So it has to be part of that discussion. And that's a large part of it. That can add a lot into the overall project as far as migrating from on-prem to the cloud. So they don't want to overlook that and the level of effort that's associated with it. But at the end of the day, organizations also can't forget to configure their overall monitoring plan and their optimization efforts for scaling these services so that they can take advantage of elasticity, which is what we know the primary benefit factor around the cloud has always been. So they want to support the use of public cloud and their growing business, and that's how they're going to go about it.
Mm-hmm. And then building on that a little bit, and really either of you could answer this, are these organizations being thoughtful about governance for cloud? Or is that an afterthought? Like how are they approaching that and even weaving that governance into the broader technology governance they should have as an organization overall?
Yeah, as a former line of business, I blanch at the idea of governance, right? Because that means slowing things down, right?
That's always the fear
that we operated in, right? I picked a best of breed point solution that's handling these types of things, and I don't want to be bothered with that. I want to keep moving and keep driving that. But in reality, what we're seeing is that, again, through this forcing function of Gen AI and the conversations around AI and the capabilities that are really kind of growing quickly in the cloud space, data and more importantly, governance has become the priority for our organizations, because that is a rally point in a lot of these organizations around how do we start to get everyone speaking the same language? How do we make some bets? How do we start to curate what we want to go do? And it becomes a strategy, right? A strategy is a series of choices, and it means you don't do certain things, right? And governance is really kind of, again, that focal point that a lot of these lines of business and the IT and the infrastructure and the risk teams and everybody can kind of come together to get this done, because ultimately it's an unfulfilled promise. If you don't have that data in a place with real governance, real strict guidelines around how we're going to do this, who it should be accessible, and more importantly, Leo's hit on it a few times, how are we going to secure this? Because the black eye from a breach or a skimmer at a POS, any of those types of things, it's just irreparable harm, right? It sets you back so much further and keeps us from that goal of expanding margins within retail.
And Leo, I want to come to you with that too. Do you encourage organizations to look for governance? Are they asking for that, or are you sort of more coaching them towards thinking through governance?
Well, I mean, they want to like it. They don't, right? It's a real game changer getting that many people on board with the same plan. But we certainly see the interest in talking about those kinds of engagements where we sit down and consult with companies to, get all their stakeholders on the same page and then deliver some policies out to the organization where they can follow in order to grow in a more sustainable manner. So it is more popular. It's certainly a tough conversation for most organizations, but we look forward to having it with customers, and we're seeing more popularity around it.
Yeah. Well, and Jay, I love that you talk about blanching at the idea of governance. I think everyone does and thinks it slows things down, but also I think it's the Navy SEALs that talk about slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And I guess if governance is done well and coached well, it can be like that, but it takes some time. So I'm glad you all are coaching.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, and your CFO is going to be much happier if you do it, right? Because just was this notion back in the day of let's just move to the cloud, let's move to the cloud, let's move to the cloud, and we'll figure out the possibilities there. But the concept of FinOps and then having workloads that are there that we don't really use, and all this consumption, and it kind of it devalues the role and value of cloud in the sense that it's there for scale, it's there for on demand, it's there to be able to kind of meet the business demands. But if we just don't have great governance and we just throw everything at it, then you're just spending money for lack of, for really any return, right? So it just kind of slows the mission down and causes a lot more adoption challenges, quite frankly.
Yeah, especially later on. All right, well, Jay, let's come to you with some talk about case studies. I wonder if you can share some success stories of retail organizations that have effectively adopted cloud technologies and are seeing good business outcomes, for their customers and for the employees. And maybe it's work that we've done, maybe it's just stuff out there in the marketplace that you've seen or that you've done in the past. Tell some stories about that.
Yeah, there's such a great, it's such an interesting time in retail. There's so much innovation, and it's not just, the normal players that are the ones that set kind of the paradigms. But I mean, you see amazing things like what Amazon has released in Rufus, and we've seen what Walmart's done with Ask Sam, which really empowers employees on the back end. Canadian Tire has done similarly. So we're starting to see kind of the payoff of good data, good governance, enabling that in a way where everyone can access it from the right time, right place, right notion, and not just servicing, again, more delivery for customers, but really empowering employees, keeping them on the selling floor, making them more aware. And so a lot of the customers that we've really helped out with, again, there's a notion of let's start with the experience and then we'll figure out where that technology goes. And that's the approach that we've really taken at Worldwide. A great example of that is our relationship with Panera Bread. We've been doing a lot of work with them, and they came to us to help them, start by modifying an application that wasn't well received by their customers. And in doing that, we started to dig into what they were actually trying to solve. They had a vision for how to really kind of enhance the cafe experience by using digital tools, whether that was bring my own device because I'm already on my mobile, or if I just want to short circuit the line and I can build off of a kiosk. All of that led to more and more information as they begin to digitize the analog, understanding consumer behavior and trends. That's not possible without that living in a cloud environment right? Doesn't need to be real time necessarily, right? It doesn't have to be everything goes there, but those macro trends, the ability to gather that information, put that into a place where you can analyze it, think about that, deliver those experiences, and get better and better and better at the way we staff stores, the way we buy inventory, the way we prepare in advance, the way we understand how to deliver the right message to a consumer to extend their visit or buy one more thing at the time, right? And we're going to have to probably change the name of a few just to kind of, protect the innocent here, because a lot of companies don't really want to talk about trade secret. But we've worked with a lot of retailers and a lot of QSRs on this cloud journey where it becomes this weapon, right, by which that information doesn't have to necessarily live on-prem. It gets ported up in the evening, and then we do great work by kind of analyzing those trends and thinking through ways that we're going to deliver a better experience, whether that's for a large discount group that's moved everything to the cloud and now starting to build out training and better things for their employees, all the way through, specialty retail who are now trying to understand not just the core components that you think about in the retail space around POS, transactional data, digital data, but really starting to leverage on-prem systems that stay there. So your camera systems, your IoT sensors, how do we start to collect that data to understand pathing of people in stores, predictive maintenance, things of that nature. So there's a lot that we can talk about. We have a lot of the case studies on wwt.com. Most of our retail case studies have some element of cloud. We're cloud agnostic. Some have hybrid approach. Some have a multi-cloud approach. So cloud is the foundation for most great customer experiences, and a lot of those are visible through a lot of the material that we do have on the platform.
Yeah. Well, it seems to me, Jay, that, and Leo, I'm going to push this to you, I think, but we're talking about cloud today, but the really best experiences that we're seeing out there, you bring in some cloud, you got to deal with networking, there's stuff going on in the stores, there's hardware, there's software, there's digital experience, there's all of those different pieces that have to come together. Security, AI is going to be in there too, to really synthesize all of that in a way that is fulfilling for those customers and those employees. So Leo, as you're having conversations, I know it's primarily around cloud, but are they extending into that full suite of all those technology areas and sort of advising clients to think that way?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in fact, the way we work at WWT is we have many cross-functional teams. And so most of the cloud engagements that we're doing for our customers are involving multiple teams who come together to merge, the core foundational technologies of the individual cloud service providers with the overall strategic direction that we're helping develop, either at a data level or an application level or an AI level. So yeah, that's a big part of the strategy that we do here and how we support our clients. So that's going to continue to happen, and we're excited to do business and work like that for our customers.
Oh. All right, well, as we wrap our conversation today, as I often like to do, I like to ask our experts to look into the future a little bit. So, what do you foresee in the future of cloud computing for retail, especially regarding, personalization that we can make for customers with our brands, and also those great employee experiences to sort of drive engagement and have employees be more successful retailers? And then, so, what are you excited to see, and how should retailers today be making preparations for that future vision that you share?
I'd say that the most exciting part now is it's not the sexy part of this. It is the governance. It's about understanding data sources. It's about companies having a different layer and level of conversation. It's a different amount of alignment that's really happening. And again, through this forcing function of generally AI, but more importantly, Gen AI. And I think what we're finding is that companies are starting to understand the power, right? Gen AI kind of reset the paradigm of how are we going to build chatbots that service our customers better and thereby allow our employees to do different type of work, right? To do more high level, more value type things. So what we're seeing is that, this is really being embraced. It's really setting this foundation. We've had pockets of AI in organizations, right? Predictive analytics has been around for a very, very long time. A lot of companies have harnessed it. But I think what you're starting to see is a real holistic alignment around what's going to happen and what does the vision and power of AI look for as we get smarter about taking these tools around machine learning, other parts of AI as well as Gen AI, and using them and employing them the way that we know that they can be deployed against customer challenges, employee challenges. So I think there's just so much happening. We're seeing more and more core systems, legacy systems move into a cloud environment where there's an ability to get at this information and make these contextualized and really deep, rich insights kind of grow, where organizations can really start to lever this but not lose the humanity, right? To take care of the commoditized, but then look for the ways to continue to build experiences that retain employees and drive more value and loyalty for their customers.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, the use cases keep expanding at a rapid pace, especially in retail. And, with AI and what we can do with data, we can really follow that customer from when we initially capture them all the way to delivering what it is that they're purchasing. And so the more areas that we can find where we can connect data together through AI services and other cloud-based tool sets is really going to improve that. And that's what customers are looking for. They want a more curated experience that is custom to them so that they can get what they want faster. So it's only going to grow at a more rapid pace, and we want to help our customers in the retail industry, kind of future-proof their operations through the use of these cloud technologies so that they can remain competitive, because those organizations that don't deploy these services are really going to be left by the wayside. So this is one of those things where it's not, hey, should I adopt it or not? It's how quickly can I adopt it, and how can I figure out how to best use it to serve my customers? So I think really that's where our core business is going to be, is helping them kind of figure out who they want to be, which is what Jay mentioned at the initiation of this conversation, who they want to be when they grow up. And we are really excited to be there at the forefront of those conversations.
Excellent. Gentlemen, thanks so much for being here today. I appreciate you joining us.
Thanks, Matt. Really appreciate it. Always good to be around Leo. I learned so much. So excited to kind of continue this conversation.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Really appreciate being here with you guys.
Yeah, you're welcome, gents. And thank you for joining us as well. Another great WWT Experts episode. This is one of 4 in our series on retail and how that industry is approaching things like cloud today, and also AI and data, security, and unified commerce. So if you enjoyed today, check those out. Those and lots more episodes of Experts and all of our shows here at WWT are out on WWT.com. Encourage you to check that out. Watch the shows when they drop. There's a big back catalog of stuff you can watch on demand at any time. And of course, we love to hear some feedback from you. So if you get that survey, please take it, or just drop us an email and let us know how we did. And with that, we'll wrap today's session. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.